Hey there. All right. If you are like just about any woman I know, chances are you have traditions that you have been upholding for you, your family, for your office, whatever, that you just keep doing because it's what we've always done. But you may not be aware that they're actually causing a lot of overwhelm and stress. Because when we have traditions, right, something that we've been doing forever, for as long as we can remember, we rarely take the time to pause and reflect on those to actually ask ourselves, why am I doing this? And does it even make sense? All right, I'm going to share a funny story that my mom told me years ago when we were talking about this thing of traditions. And it was from a friend of hers who was laughing because apparently they had a tradition growing up that when they would get this particular cut of meat, I think it was a roast beef, that they would always whack off the end of it before cooking it. And so, I mean, this has been going on for as long as she could remember. And so my mom was with her at one point, and she sees her cutting off the end of this roast beef she's putting in. My mom was kind of like, "What? Like, why are you doing that?" And she's like, "Well, that's just like I grew up. That's what we do." And she's like, "Isn't that something you're supposed to do?" And my mom's like, No, I've never seen that done before." So it prompted her friend to call her mom to say, "Mom, like, why do we always cut off the end of the roast beef?" And her mom busted out laughing, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, are you doing that?" She's like, "Well, yeah, it's what I grew up watching. It's our tradition." Her mom's like, "No, it's because we never had a pan big enough to fit the roast beef. So she always had to cut off the end of it to fit the thing into the pan." And now this turned into some tradition of something that had happened that makes no logical sense to keep doing, right? Now, I'm not saying every tradition that we have started from something and now it doesn't make sense, but I just kind of wanted to tell that story because I think it highlights a really good point. But what I do want to take a couple minutes to talk about today is to give you kind of some pause for thought to reevaluate the traditions you may be carrying the weight and the burden of that really don't serve you anymore, or might be causing resentment, or might be causing you to not be enjoying something that everyone else does. Now, a very common time of year that this hits definitely is in Q4. There tends to be a lot of traditions, around all of the December holidays. But guys, this can sneak up in so many other ways, right? It could be tied to birthdays or other smaller holidays or Mother's Day or Father's Day or the thing that you always do on the first day or last day of school. And while the idea of traditions, I get it, it's nice to have those, but not if you kind of get to the point where you don't like them anymore. So here is what I would encourage you to do. I would pull out your calendar and look ahead, both here, and it's time I'm doing this, it's February. Look February, March, April, and see, do I have anything on my calendar in the coming months that kind of has an associated tradition connected to it, meaning work for you? And ask yourself, do I even like doing that, or is it overwhelming? Right? Now, the reason why I like to always ask myself, do I like doing it, and is it overwhelming? And I ask that together is because I might say, yeah, I love doing it, but man, it's overwhelming. Now, if the answer is I like doing it and it's not overwhelming, I'm going to keep it. But what I'm really looking for are the things that I like doing and are overwhelming, or the things I just don't like doing at all. So first, let's tackle the not doing it all. If there's something you're like, I just really don't like doing this, but I feel like I have to because we've always done it that way, friends, it is time to stop. It is time to stop the should game. And now this might mean that might upset other people. Maybe you have a conversation with someone. Maybe you no longer are the owner of that tradition and you get to pass that off to someone else. But just because it's a tradition doesn't mean the burden needs to lie on you. All right, we have let go of a lot of traditions. Either I'm no longer doing them, or my husband and my daughter are doing them, or we're doing them differently. So now let's talk about the one where, yeah, it's something you love, but it's really overwhelming. All right, and this really hit me personally last year because I'm always challenging myself to lighten my load through the holiday season where it was, time to work on getting my holiday cards out. And I was like, no, I love holiday cards, but it's always just feels like that one thing that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. And so I said, okay, anytime I know there's a tradition that I like, but it's causing me stress and overwhelm. This is a great opportunity to say, how can I change it? How can I transform this tradition into something new that still brings me joy? So I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, I love receiving holiday cards. And so I love to then send them out. I love giving updates on what we're doing. I love looking back through my photos. I just don't need one more thing in the month of November or December. So then I was like, well, you know what? I've seen people do New Year's cards and I like those. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be doing that right after Christmas either. And then it hit me. It's like, I love Valentine's Day. It's a quiet time of the year. There's not usually much going on mid-February. I still love mailing out Valentine's Day cards to friends and family members. And so I thought, maybe this year, what if I just did it different? And what if instead I sent out Valentine's Day cards instead of holiday cards? So I'm still keeping the pleasure of it, but I'm changing it up to something that now was not overwhelming. And so this week I mailed out our Valentine's Day cards with a little update from our family. And at the top of it, I even said, the holiday season is just too busy, so I'm starting a new tradition. Valentine's Day cards instead of Christmas cards. Now, who knows, 5, 6 years from now, I may not want to do Valentine's Day cards anymore. And I have absolutely reserved the right to change that up. But I want to just remind you, just because it's always been that way, friends, you don't have to keep traditions to keep other people happy at the cost of it weighing you down. All right. For some reason, women in particular feel like we're the ones that have to uphold and honor these. There are traditions that I don't enjoy, and I've been very open with my family about it. And so some things now, other family members have taken over the management of that tradition. And I'm like, great, if it's that important to you, then you can run with it, and I will happily be a participant. But definitely take a look every single month. What's going on? What celebrations, activities, events do we have that have traditions tied to them? And give yourself permission to give someone else responsibility for it, to stop doing it altogether, or to change up what it gets to look like, right? You deserve to enjoy tradition-based events as much as everybody else. So I would love to hear from you. Please feel free to post here in the comments. What are you going to start thinking about changing up? Because I think it'd be fun to get some idea swapping going here, right? Around any traditions that you're like, yeah, here's what I'm doing differently, or here's one that I completely let go of. Because I think the more we hear what other people are doing, it inspires that creativity inside of us to think of things differently as well. So in the meantime, happy planning.